Mm, 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 mm. Hey everybody. Good evening and welcome to Embracing the Gap, episode one. Excuse me, so I can see y'all a little better. There you go. Welcome back to those of you that are tuning in for the first time. Welcome. Tonight's subject. Um, First, I want to make sure everyone can hear me. So I'm checking my audio. Um, just make sure you have your sound turned up. I have mine turned up. There we go. So we're going to get right into our subject this evening. Again, I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. It's a sensitive topic for some. So for those of you that are that may be triggered by the subject, uh, please just kind of brace yourself. It can happen, especially with narcissistic abuse. Um, it happens with a lot of people. So if you need afterwards to message me or talk with someone, that's completely normal. Okay. So tonight's topic is life after narcissistic abuse. Um, so I wanted to start out first with uh, a little of my experience with it because we couldn't get too many guests to come on because people are really, there is still really a stigma attached to the word abuse and especially narcissistic abuse. Um, there's still a stigma attached to whether it exists or not, or if you can say they were a narcissist. So what I'm going to do is give you a little background um, on my just a kind of summary of my experience when back in 2012, I actually started bringing up the word narcissist and that I was in an abusive relationship, what people would throw out as toxic now or just a bad relationship. People would just saying, it's just a bad breakup, but it was just something severely different that was wrong. I had a counselor from a local domestic violence organization that I was talking to, and when I brought up that word, I didn't just think it up. I actually looked it up, and I was looking up things that I was going through, and it just kept coming back to this term. And so when I went to this counselor, she says, I'm hearing this word. Everybody's just throwing around this word. I don't know what that word is. Everybody just throwing around this word. He's just a loser. And, get over it. You should be happy it's over and blah, blah, blah. And this is what the world was telling me then. Just get over it. Just move on. It's a bad person. Just be happy. Just have some hope. But if you didn't get what that was, you had never been with a narcissist. There are some things you just cannot explain in words. There are some things that when it comes out of your mouth and you explain it to someone that hasn't been there, you can hear yourself sounding like crazy, and it'll shut you down to where you won't reach out again, and you won't try to explain what you're going through to anyone. And that's what survivors of narcissistic abuse, that's where they really are. It's like speaking a foreign language. No matter how loud, people are not going to hear it. So I want to talk about, because a lot of times people break up with someone they feel was narcissistic, and what they do is they think because they're not with that person anymore, that is part, that they just broke up and they can move on. And as long as they're not with that person anymore, they won't be with a narcissist anymore. And that's a huge, huge mistake. Life after that. So life can start after that. You have to realize everything that happened to you to get into that relationship, and everything that happened while you were in that relationship is going to lead you to where you're going after the relationship, or else you'll be going around in a circle. So it's like driving through a town that's in a loop. You don't stop and ask for directions. You're going to keep going around in that loop, and you have to stop and ask for direction. And direction just can't come from you, because that's what got us there, just winging it. So I wanted to give a few points in this short amount of time. I wanted to keep this one kind of short. Again, it can be triggering for some people, but I just wanted to let a lot of people know you're not alone. One, you're not crazy. There is help, and there is life after narcissistic abuse. No matter how hopeless you feel, there is life. So one, I wanted to start it out with, how do you identify that you're with the narcissist? So there are people, of course, there are paid professionals, and there are tests that diagnose someone with narcissistic personality disorder. A narcissist, or narcissists that we talk about, or narcs that we refer to in a lot of the groups, or in people that have survived this type of abuse, is not someone that is always clinically diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. This is why. A person that's diabetic doesn't have to be diagnosed clinically with diabetes for them to know they have diabetes. For some people, they don't need to know. What I'm saying is, for someone that is categorized as a narcissist, it's usually categorized not by that person as much as it's categorized by the damage they've done. It's like a footprint. You can look at the footprint, and from the footprint, you can see what type of shoe that was. A narcissist is usually identified by its victims and its damage that is done to its victims. So I usually tell or advise, or I tell people about my experience. When you have experienced or have been in a long-term relationship with a narcissist, this can be a man, this can be a woman, this can be your child. This can be a parent, it can be a coworker, it can be a so-called best friend, it can be a business partner, any type of long-term relationship that you have to have. A narcissist can get in there. Their goal is just pretty much to feed off you. And if you're a good person, you have a better chance of them trying to feed off of you, okay? Especially if you're a popular person, if you're someone out there, if they can get some recognition from uh, being with you and for their career, if they have a career that hasn't really taken off yet, you know, and they can get that from you. If they have money that they haven't learned to, you know, cultivate, they haven't learned to be financially stable yet, and you have everything, you know, they can just walk in your life and, you know, and they can show off those things. You're the prime suspect. You're a prime victim. So usually people that have been with a narcissist and they're trying to recover, they've just been out there, they're emotionally, mentally, psychologically beat up. So one of the characteristics is you'll see they apologize too much. I used to get around people and anything they said, I'm like, I'm sorry. And he'll say, stop apologizing. And I would say, I'm sorry for saying I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's only because you have been so emotionally beat down to the point where you just said in that relationship, again, whether it was work, whether it was with your parents, whether it was with a sibling, you just, whatever, just stop, just to get it to stop. You want that person's attention, acceptance, admiration, so much. And you've been made to feel like you are responsible on whether that person has a good or bad attitude or a good or bad day. So they're used to you taking that and accepting that, and they'll tell you, well, you did this to me. I'm sorry. You know, how can I do better? I'm sorry. I mean, if you don't believe it at first, they'll argue you down until you accept that, you know, you're the wrong one. You'll question yourself on whether things actually happen. So that's one of the things that you do. You second guess yourself, and then you just get to the point where you say, okay, well, yeah, I did it. I'm sorry. You apologize a lot. After you leave, you realize that you are in need of someone to care for. You don't take care of yourself much, but you realize, or you start realizing that you were codependent. Everything you felt depended on that person. You're a caretaker. You're worried about what everybody else has going on. And through the time that you were with this narcissist in whatever capacity, you have neglected yourself, whether mentally, emotionally, financially, usually all of them. You're just torn up, but you realize that you have neglected you and maybe those close to you, maybe children, maybe family members. But so another sign of having been with a narcissist is if you realize that you're codependent. You can't, now you seem like you can't function not taking care of that person or worrying about their needs. Number 3, you tell too much. See, now that that person is not there, you don't have any focus. You don't know where you're going anymore. You have made that person your life. And they made they did a very good job of making you think that your job, your whole life was them. I mean, some of them even get jealous of your children, your relationship with your children, with your parents. But you had focused everything on it. You gave them 150%, if that's possible. And now, since you gave that person everything and they're gone, you have nothing. You don't even know where to go. You don't know what to do. So you start telling. You start talking to people. You start telling too much. You go over, your people are just looking at you like, did she just really tell me that? You tell too much. Because that person, when they were with you, what they do is they shut you down. Your feelings don't matter. And now you realize you can talk, you can speak, so you just overspeak. And the bad part about that is you end up speaking to people that don't understand what you're going through. And this further helps to victimize you, because now like the narcissist was, people are going to be calling you crazy and telling you just to get over it and blah, 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 blah. So that's another sign that you've dealt with the narcissist. You'll go through a depression, or you'll go through the depression and the ADHD. You just try to get someone quick or something quick to continue to take care of, or you're trying to get someone to understand you, to listen to you, to hear you, and you're trying to get someone to tell you or confirm you're not crazy. This really happened. It was that person's fault. That woman did do this. That man did do this. It wasn't just me. Do you understand? And I can't believe he did this, and I can't believe he did that. And all of that anxiety will bring on some depression, where you get recluse because you feel like no one really understands you. You will feel like, how could this person just pick up and leave? They were here 1 second and they turned off every emotion and just left me. How could they do that? How's that possible? That's not for you to understand. That's going to be one of the hardest things afterwards. And people that have gone through this, that was one of the hardest things. Like, how could this person treat me that way? You know, I gave them everything. I did everything. How could they do that? That's going to bring on a depression. That's normal. You're going to have a skewed sense of self-worth. That's number 5, which you probably had before that beginning, that relationship, friendship, or whatever. You probably had that. You probably had a skewed sense of self-worth, and that's what landed you here. So trying to find out who you are and your identity, that is going to be your main goal in your life after this abuse, unless, and no one is, unless you are good with that and that's what you want again. You're going to have to find out who you are and why you accepted whatever it is that you accepted in that relationship. So those are some of the characteristics that you have. You apologize too much. You realize that you're codependent, you're a caretaker. You tell too much of yourself, or you get overly recluse, hermit, stay in the house and not talk to anybody, not reach out to anybody. You get depression, or you'll realize that, you have points of anxiety and depression. And they're all centered around that person, that relationship. And you'll have a skewed sense of self-worth. You don't know who you are anymore now without your attachment to that person. You have no idea who you are, and you're just reaching, trying to find out what's going on. So yeah, some people have been diagnosed afterwards as having post-traumatic stress disorder. That is how much your mind and your body goes through being in a close relationship with the narcissist for a long amount of time. So the second part of that is, since we got over like some of those characteristics that you'll experience, or some of those things you'll experience afterwards, in order to thrive, not just survive, because we're not out here just, grabbing at stones, climbing trees to get a leaf and just survive. We're trying to thrive. We're trying to find life after. We're not just trying to get enough energy to roll over to the other side of the bed. We're sick of that life, right? So when we hear and we say life after, we mean life, brand new life. We're not going back to before. So how do you do that? Like I said, some people separate from the narcissist and think, because I'm not working there anymore, I'm not living there anymore, they're not living here anymore, we're not together anymore, I'm good. I'm good, and I know who I am, and I see this all the time. I'm rooting for you, but for those of us that have been there and survived it, we see and we know you haven't. There's no way possible. You can't recover that quickly. I know I can hear the naysayers now. God can do anything. I'm not saying that, and I'm not making fun of you. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, it all requires work. it requires work. Part of that work can be prayer, but it's going to require work. And the longer you were there, the longer you yourself had the type of personality where you attract, not just attract narcissists, you attract, they run to you, you run to them, you fall in love, and you give them your all over and over and over and over until you find out why you're that type of person and what is at the root of you being that type of person and accepting that type of abuse. You're going to repeat that cycle. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So with the part with the acceptance, that's number one. You have to accept you couldn't control this. You weren't supposed to. You couldn't control this. You have to accept that you couldn't control it. You weren't supposed to. And you have to learn to get control of you. You can't control anyone else besides yourself. Accept that. And accept that at this point, you are not even in control of yourself. That's a big pill to swallow, a hard pill to swallow. Like Alanis Morissette, is that her album? Right? Jagged Little Pill. It's a jagged little pill. But you got to swallow it. When you get to that point of acceptance, you have to stop blaming the narcissist. This is where a lot of people that have been in a relationship with a narcissist get stuck. Blame, blame, blame. They study. Why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? And he did this, and it was his fault. If he would have just, you get stuck there. And then you get your girlfriends or your guy friends. Yeah, she was horrible. And yeah, she just took your money. And now you stuck with the woman hater attitude or the men hater attitude or the no new friends. I'm giving the same energy. Yeah, you negative. You stuck. You still hurt. You have to move on from that. One is stop the blame. It's not everybody else. You can only control you. We're going back to number one. You can only control you. Stop blaming. Focus on you. 3 is no contact. Very, very important. If you think back, you couldn't think of moments not being around that person, not trying to please that person, not trying to get the acceptance of that person. Everything you wrote, everything you posted on social media, everything you wore, everything you said, everything you bought, what you drove, where you live, was just for approval of that person. You have to cut that. You have to cut that they can even see that, hear that, talk to you. You have to cut off access to you because you have neglected you for so long that you can't afford to waste any time and any energy on anyone else but you. You probably at the same time neglected your family, your friends, your children. Your children are probably like, what in the world is going on with mommy? Don't let anybody tell you that your children will be fine. If your children were in that house or they're your children. They're going to be affected. They just, it's guaranteed they're going to be affected. Close family, parents, they're watching you through it. They love you. If they love you and they're near you, they're watching you going through it. They're affected. Okay. But right now, at this moment, you need to focus on you. So no contact. I mean, don't stalk their social media. Don't tell a friend to tell a friend. Don't have one of those friends that come to you and tell you all their business. Tell them I don't want to hear it. No, you got to heal. What that person is doing is just opening up a wound. And this is holding you back from getting to your next level. You've been through the abuse and all that. You want more, you want different. You have to get a different feed and a different energy. That starts by initially cutting off any of that bad that's coming from that same source in any way. No phone calls, no text, block them on everything. Just don't worry about what they're doing with the next person. If they treat this other person better than they treat you, if they treating this cousin this way and they treated you bad and you just as close to a cousin, it doesn't matter. Cut it. You have to stop, because as long as you're worrying about that, you're not worrying about you. Concentrate on you. But this is what happens when you're with the narcissist. You start questioning yourself, and your value is not in you. Your value you have placed on these people and how they treat you. That was their goal. They succeeded at that, and now they left you with it. And you're bothersome if you continue to do the same thing. Please don't get them a second more. It's easier said than done. Lord knows I know it's easier said than done, but you could do it. You're worth it. That life that's ahead, trust me, it looked like it'll never get there, but it will. And when it gets there, whoo, I'm telling you, trust me, okay? Next, you have to find out what's at the root of that. For some reason, this person came into your life and you couldn't identify that they were unhealthy. Not just unhealthy, they were dangerous. You couldn't identify that there were certain things that were off. And when you did identify it, you didn't walk the other way. You went in full blast. You have to find out what at the root of you made you love this person even more, made you accept this type of treatment and give it your all. If you were what I call a repeat offender, you're offending yourself. If you're a repeat offender, that's let me fix my way. If you're a repeat offender, try and find out why you continuously do this. A painful truth about survivors of narcissistic abuse is that within this relationship, friendship, job relationship, this is not their first narcissist. A lot of times, their first narcissist was in childhood. It was when they were being taught or supposed to be taught what love was, what relationships were. And in their eye gate, this is what they learned love was. This manipulation, this you are responsible for my feelings. You're responsible for my whole mood for the day. You're responsible for my life and everybody around you. And if you really care, you would burn yourself, set yourself on fire to save them. That you have to. That you have to go through suffering to earn love. Somebody taught you that inadvertently. No one literally probably said that to you, but somewhere you learned this was okay. And you grew into adulthood, and those narcissists can spot you. They can spot that. They can spot you right off the back saying, oh, I'll do it. Oh, I'll get that. Oh, no one ever loved you. Oh, I'll love you. You don't have to, don't worry about an arm. I'll chop mine off and give it to you. They can see. And they're like, whoo, fresh blood. You have to find out why you think that. And then you have to pull that up by the root. Now, that is number 3, but that plays into number 4, which is get some help. Get some help. I have nothing against going to get help from a church and a church alone. But I would recommend a church and therapy if you are going to be going to church. Yes, having a good church family help, but having someone knowledgeable about all the things that you're going through mentally is even more important, because that process has to be explained to you in a way only a professional can do. It has to be someone with enough patience to listen, that you don't know personally, because most of the time you won't tell your church family every single detail. And then when you tell them every single detail, you're kind of feeling funny about, your area or if they know, or if when they preach, they're talking about you. It's just kind of a different thing. Um, so do what's best for you. This is your time for you to choose what's best for you, but do what's best for you. But I really, really recommend that you get therapy and find a therapist that's right for you. You have a choice. You don't have to pick just any therapist. You could pick the therapist that you feel is right for you, that's very knowledgeable on survivors of narcissistic abuse, to find out what that thing is, pull it up by the root, because that is what's holding you mentally and emotionally in the same spot, attracting the same stuff. Whatever that hold is, whatever your concept, this is these are the lenses that you're seeing the world through. You're seeing the world of relationships. You're seeing the world through how you see your self-worth. And your self-worth was taught to you when you were growing up. You didn't learn love for self. You learned that that is on the back burner, and how other people accept you or how they treat you is that's where your worth lies. You can't have that, because now you had the world tearing your heart apart because you're giving it to them because you think that's what you're supposed to do, take care of everybody. So please get some therapy, get some help. The next thing you want to do is keep in touch with your children. If you're going to therapy, take your children too. If your children were there and it was an abusive romantic relationship between their father and you, a man you live with, a woman you live with, your ex-wife, you guys still have to co-parent, and you're going to have to find a way to deal with that. Narcissists don't care how you feel, how the children feel. They don't care about anybody but them. So a big part of life after that is your children's lives after that, because they're still there. I mean, and now more than ever, you're going to start seeing the effects of that bad relationship. And they deserve new just like you. Bring them in to therapy. Listen to them. Listen to them. They have a lot to say. They love you regardless of what that person did. But they just imagine you're going through everything and you're an adult. Imagine children that can't control or have no idea what's really going on. They're going to need that help as well. So keep in touch with them. Talk to them every day. Say hello. What are you doing? If you're going to text, if you're going to do anything, keep in contact with them. Even if they decided to leave the house after that, if they decide to go with that parent, because those people can be manipulative and use the children. Don't use your children, but keep in contact with them. Tell them you love them. Everything is going to be okay. Mommy, daddy is going to get better. Just don't let it tear y'all apart. There's a process called gray rock. You can look that up. If you have to co-parent, you can gray rock. But just remember, stay detached. Stay detached. Once you get through all of this, just remember, the goal is to heal. Not to heal. I hear a lot of people say, I want to get back to the person that I was. No, you don't want to get back to the person that you were, because that's the person that accepted that person into your life. You don't want to get back to that. You want to go further. You want to get to where you were supposed to go, and you were sidetracked. You were railroaded into hell. But there's light after that. Now you know so many things. Now you're like Little Red Riding Hood after. You know that wolves, big bad wolves, exist now. You know they exist. You didn't know before. Now you know they exist. And now there are other people traveling through the woods, and you know that it's possible they could be a wolf. You don't want to keep your guard up, but you want to get the tools, not just to be able to see what that is, but to get out of that hole forest. Just get out of it. Just grow past it. Just where your journey leads you to higher vibrations, higher thoughts, higher manifestations, higher prayer, higher power. So if that takes you to prayer, if that takes, your spiritual life higher, I mean, it's just a whole different lifestyle. This is why sometimes you'll see survivors of narcissistic abuse say thank you to their narcissist, because that experience with them made them actually stop where they were and say, what in the world is going on? Go in a different direction and find themselves. This is life after. It's possible. It's possible, and it's guaranteed if you put the work in. You got to put that work in. You got to say, no matter what, this is not where it ends. I'm not going to keep doing this. You deserve it. Your loved ones deserve it. Life after is possible beyond your wildest dreams, but we have to focus on certain things. This video or this podcast is going to be reposted with notes of what we just talked about. So I'm gonna go through real quick. We're gonna go through the part 1 about identifying the characteristic that you have if you have been with the narcissist, and that's apologizing too much, you a caretaker, codependent, you tell too much, or you get recluse, you develop maybe depression, anxiety, or a little bit of both. You have a skewed sense of your self-worth. And the other part of what you need to focus on as far as your journey to grow above this, acceptance. You accept what is, what the situation is. That was a narcissist. And this is something you need to get away from. You stop blaming and focus on you. Go no contact. That means cutting social media, phone calls, the whole nine. If you can't go totally no contact because you have to co-parent, then you can gray rock. You have to find out what it was in your life, or where it was in your life, that you learn to accept this abuse. It could be from a relative. It could be from a sibling that was emotionally manipulative, that was controlling, that made you feel less than, that made you feel that like you were responsible for their feelings. It could be that you were in a dysfunctional family where you were a child, but you felt like the mother. You were the son, but you felt like the dad. You had to protect your mom, or you had to save your mom from your dad. It's a lot of things that play into it, but do not belittle the fact that you made it through a childhood that was traumatic or dysfunctional. It's not saying anything bad about your parents. It's not. But it's not about them right now. It's about you and your health. Please make that a point. And keep in touch with your loved ones that are affected, that were affected in this relationship, whether it was a job relationship, whether it was a home relationship, if you lived together, if you were married, and now you're apart, or the kids are in different homes. Get you some therapy. And church, just seek you a higher power. Seek you someone on the outside that doesn't see you every day, doesn't know you personally. That helps a lot. Start believing that you deserve better and heal. The goal of it all is to heal. One main thing that I left out, I'm sorry, I should have wrote that down. When you first get out of this, please only talk to people that's been through it. You will drive yourself stark raving mad trying to talk to somebody who has not experienced a relationship with a narcissist. And I'm not saying anything against therapists either, but sometimes there are things that you just can't get if you haven't been there. It may add to your study, but when you've been there, now if your therapist has been there, bing. But please Talk to people that you know has been there, not still there, has been there and made it through. That's going to be your probably your biggest source of encouragement, your biggest source to see it actually happen. And those of us that have been there and are past it, have grown past it, or on a path in a different direction now, don't ever act like you weren't that person. Don't ever forget those people. Don't ever put yourself on that pedestal and I see that happen. You start finger pointing. Those of you that are finger pointing and saying, well, she need to, and you just need to, and you just need, you weren't with the narcissist. You, most likely, you were the narcissist or you were with a very bad person. They weren't a narcissist though, because you just don't recover. And if you've been there, you don't do those types of things. You don't say that. But I understand you not wanting to be around those kind of people anymore. No, but don't forget about those people. Don't forget about your shouts in the dark that no one heard. That person is probably going through now. Don't forget about that. Okay. I would love your feedback, or we're going to have another section to this. It will probably be in October, but I will keep you posted, of course, with my updates. I would love your feedback. I would love some more topic ideas if you'd like. And I'd love for you to be a guest. So if you want to be a guest and you have some topic ideas, shoot me an email or inbox me, or however you contact me at Embracing the Gap. This has been Life After Narcissistic Abuse with Salonia and Embracing the Gap. I hope you join us again. Have a good night. Shine bright.